All right, so today on Talk Tensors, we're diving deep into LLamaV01, rethinking step-by-step visual reasoning in LLMs.
Ooh, this is a really interesting one.
It is. You know, we talked a lot about LLMs and all the amazing things they can do with language.
Yeah,
But what about vision? What about making AI that can actually reason about what it sees?
right, because it's not enough to just recognize objects in an image.
Exactly. Like you said, it's one thing for an AI to say, okay, there's a cat on a couch.
Mm.
But what we really want is for AI to understand the whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is the cat there? Is it about to jump down? Can it infer what might happen next?
Yeah, exactly. And this paper really digs into that challenge of visual reasoning.
Okay, so set the stage for us. What's the problem that this paper is trying to solve?
Well, the authors argue that existing benchmarks for visual reasoning have been kind of too focused on the final answer.
Okay.
They're not really looking at the steps involved in getting there. It's like grading a math test based only on the final result.
Without showing your work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a problem because if we want AI to truly understand and reason about the world, we need to see how it's thinking, not just what it concludes.
I'm with you. So how does this paper address that? What's their solution?
They introduce a new benchmark called VRC Bench, which stands for Visual Reasoning Chain Benchmark.
VRC bench.
Okay.
Okay, so what makes this benchmark different?
It's all about evaluating the quality of the reasoning process, not just the end result.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's designed to be really comprehensive. It covers 8 different categories like visual reasoning, math and logic, social and cultural context, even medical imaging.
Wow, 8 categories. That's quite a range. So it's not just about recognizing objects anymore.
No, it's about understanding relationships, drawing inferences, and really putting those visual reasoning skills to the test.
This is fascinating. Can you give us an example of what kind of tasks are included in VRC bench?
Well, one example is analyzing historical paintings. Like, can the AI understand the symbolism and historical context of the artwork? Or how about diagnosing medical conditions from images?
Oh, wow.
It's really pushing the boundaries of what we expect AI to be able to do with visual information.
That's incredible. So they've set a high bar with VRC bench. Now, tell me about this new model, LLamaV01. What makes it so special?
Well, it's trained using this really interesting approach called curriculum learning. It's kind of like how we humans learn best, by starting with simple concepts and gradually building up to more complex ones.
Right, you don't start with advanced calculus on day one.
Exactly. So LLamaV01 is trained step by step. First, it learns to summarize the task at hand.
Okay.
Then it generates captions for the visual input.
Uh-huh.
And finally, it applies logical reasoning to come up with the answer.
So it's not just a brute force approach. It's actually breaking down the reasoning process into manageable chunks.
That's right. And this method seems to really work. LLamaV01 excels at multi-step reasoning tasks. And get this.
What?
It's 5 times faster than the previous best model, Lavaco.
5 times faster. That's a huge improvement.
It is. And it's not just faster, it's also more accurate. It achieved an average score improvement of 3.8% across 6 different benchmarks.
That's impressive. So it's smarter and faster. Now, I'm dying to know, how does LLamaV01 stack up against the competition?
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. Not only does LLamaV01 outperform existing open source models, it actually comes close to, and in some cases even beats, the performance of some closed source models like Gemini and Claude.
Hold on. Are you serious? We're talking about models developed by companies with massive resources?
Yeah, I know, right? It's pretty remarkable. And it seems to be particularly good at tasks that involve charts, diagrams, and anything that requires that sort of step-by-step logical deduction.
So we're talking about AI that can analyze complex visual information and actually explain its reasoning process.
Exactly. And you know what? That's a huge step towards building AI systems that we can actually trust, especially in sensitive domains like healthcare.
This is definitely a game changer. But before we dive into some of the potential implications of this research,
Oh, yeah.
let's take a quick break and come back to discuss what this all means for the future of AI.
So we're back, and one thing that really stands out about this LLamaV01 paper is the focus on interpretability.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot on Talk Tensors. It's not enough for AI to just get the right answer.
Right.
We need to be able to understand why it thinks that answer is correct.
Exactly. And that's especially important as AI systems become more powerful and start making decisions that impact our lives.
Absolutely. Like, think about medical diagnosis. You wouldn't want an AI telling you you have a certain condition without explaining how it arrived at that conclusion, right?
Absolutely not. And that's kind of been a challenge with the rise of deep learning.
Yeah.
These neural networks can be incredibly complex.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard even for the experts to understand exactly how they're making decisions.
It's like this black box that just spits out an answer.
Yeah, and while that might be okay for some applications, like, recommending a movie on Netflix, it's definitely not okay when we're talking about things like healthcare or self-driving cars.
No, not at all. We need that transparency, that ability to understand the reasoning process. And that's why this research on Llama V01 is so important.
Yeah.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's saying, hey, we can build AI that's not only accurate, but also explainable.
Exactly. And it's interesting to think about this in the context of the history of AI research. Like, in the early days, AI systems were mostly rule-based. Experts would manually code all the rules and logic, so it was very transparent.
It was all explicit. You could see exactly what the system was doing step by step.
Right, but those systems were pretty limited in their ability to learn and adapt.
Yeah, they couldn't really handle the complexities of the real world.
Exactly. And that's when machine learning came along, and specifically deep learning.
And that changed everything.
Oh, it did. Suddenly, we had these neural networks that could learn from data, identify patterns, and make predictions without needing all those explicit rules.
Which led to amazing breakthroughs in fields like image recognition and natural language processing.
Oh, absolutely. But the trade-off was that these deep learning models were a lot less transparent.
Right. As they got more powerful, they also got more opaque. And that's where the need for interpretability comes in.
Yeah. So this research with Llama V01 is kind of like bringing those two threads together, combining the power of deep learning with the transparency of those early rule-based systems.
I like that. It's like striking a balance between performance and interpretability.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about some of the potential applications of Llama V01. We've mentioned robotics a few times, but I'm curious to hear you elaborate on that.
Okay, so imagine a robot that can not only see objects, but actually understand their function and purpose.
Oh, wow.
Like, instead of just grasping an object, it could actually figure out how to use it based on its visual features and the surrounding context.
So we're talking about robots that can truly collaborate with humans in complex environments.
Exactly.
That's a huge leap forward. What other fields could see similar advancements?
Well, the paper highlights LLamaV01's strength in tasks that involve charts and diagrams.
Right.
So naturally, any field that relies heavily on data visualization could benefit enormously.
Like finance.
Finance, absolutely. Imagine an AI that can analyze complex financial data, identify trends, and generate reports that are both accurate and understandable to human analysts.
Oh, that would be incredible. Or even in scientific research.
Oh, absolutely. Llama V01 could analyze massive data sets from experiments, potentially helping scientists make discoveries much faster.
Yeah, and we've talked about AI tutors before.
Yeah.
This could revolutionize education.
Yeah.
Imagine personalized learning experiences tailored to each student's visual understanding.
Yeah. Imagine an AI tutor that can actually see where a student is struggling based on how they're interacting with visual representations of a concept.
That level of personalized instruction would be amazing.
It would.
This is really exciting stuff. But let's step back for a second and think about the bigger picture. This kind of research has implications for the future of work.
Oh, definitely.
As AI systems get better at understanding and interacting with the visual world, they're going to start taking on roles that we previously thought required human intelligence.
Yeah, it's a little bit daunting.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly exciting. We're entering this new era where AI isn't just a tool, it's a collaborator.
It is. And that's why it's so crucial that we focus on responsible AI development.
Absolutely. We need to make sure these systems are used ethically and for the benefit of all of humanity.
Yeah, and that means thinking about things like bias, transparency, and accountability.
Couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things I love about open source research, like this Llama V01 paper.
Yeah.
It allows the whole AI community to scrutinize these models, identify potential issues, and work together to find solutions.
It's a collaborative effort to ensure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits everyone.
Exactly. And speaking of collaboration, this paper has sparked some pretty interesting ideas here at Talk Tensors.
Oh, it has.
It's time for our Novel Notions segment, where we explore some of the potential extensions of the research.
I love this part.
Me too. So what if? What if we could use LLMs like Llama V01 to actually generate synthetic training data for specific visual reasoning tasks?
Ooh, that is interesting.
Right. We could essentially create a custom-made visual training ground for AI.
I like that. So imagine this. We feed Llama V01 a detailed description of a complex scenario, like a self-driving car navigating a busy intersection.
Okay.
And then the model, based on that description, generates images and the corresponding reasoning chains.
So instead of relying solely on real-world data, which can be expensive and time-consuming to collect,
Right.
we could use AI to create a virtually limitless supply of training data tailored to our specific needs.
Exactly. And this could be especially useful in fields where real-world data is scarce or difficult to obtain, like in disaster response, for example.
Oh, I see what you mean. We can't exactly stage a bunch of earthquakes and hurricanes for data collection.
No, but we could describe those scenarios in detail and have Llama V01 create realistic simulations to train AI on.
That's fascinating. And it could extend to other fields like medical imaging, where privacy concerns limit access to real patient data.
Exactly. We could create diverse and representative data sets without compromising anyone's privacy.
This idea of using LLMs to generate synthetic training data is pretty revolutionary.
It is.
It could accelerate AI research, enable the development of AI for all sorts of niche applications, and potentially lead to even more robust and interpretable models.
I agree. It's a really exciting prospect. But of course, there are challenges to consider.
Of course.
The quality and realism of the synthetic data would be crucial. If it's not a faithful representation of the real world, the AI models trained on it might not generalize well.
Right, it's got to capture the nuances of real-world scenarios,
Yeah.
including all those weird edge cases and variations.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of bias.
Oh, cool.
If the LLM generating the data is biased, those biases could get amplified in the AI models trained on that data.
That's a really important point. We need to be very mindful of those potential biases and develop ways to mitigate them.
Yes, absolutely.
This is definitely an area that needs a lot more research and development.
It does, but the potential benefits are huge. If we can crack this, it could really change the game for AI development.
I completely agree. So while this idea of synthetic training data is still in its early stages,
Yeah.
it's definitely something to keep an eye on. It's a testament to the incredible innovation happening in the field of visual reasoning.
It is, and it just goes to show that we're still just scratching the surface of what's possible with AI.
Okay, so synthetic data, that's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down.
Yeah, we could talk about that for hours.
But for now, let's bring it back to Llama V01 and its capabilities as they stand today. Like, what are the real-world implications? Where could we see this tech making a difference right now?
Oh, there are so many possibilities, but I think one of the most exciting areas is robotics.
Robotics, yeah, we touched on that earlier, but I'd love to hear more about how Llama V01 could change the game for robots.
Imagine robots that can not only see their environment, but truly understand it.
Okay, yeah.
Like they can navigate complex spaces, manipulate objects with incredible precision, even learn new tasks just by watching humans do them.
Oh,
We're not talking about those clunky industrial robots anymore.
Yeah.
These are robots that can adapt, make decisions on the fly, and work alongside humans in a much more intuitive way.
it's like giving robots a serious cognitive upgrade.
Exactly. And it's not just robotics. Remember how we talked about Llama V01's proficiency with charts and diagrams?
Mhm.
Well, any field that relies heavily on data visualization could benefit from this, like finance, for
Oh,
example.
yeah, finance. That makes sense.
You could have AI that analyzes complex financial data, spots trends, and generates reports in a way that's both accurate and understandable to human analysts.
That would be incredible. And I bet there are applications in scientific research too, right?
Absolutely. Llama V01 could be a huge asset in analyzing massive data sets from experiments, potentially leading to faster breakthroughs in medicine, material science, all sorts of fields.
And let's not forget about education. We talked about AI tutors, but I can see this transforming the way students learn.
Oh, for sure. Imagine personalized learning experiences that are tailored to each student's visual understanding.
Yeah. An AI tutor powered by Llama V01 could pinpoint exactly where a student is struggling based on how they interact with visual representations of a concept.
That level of personalized instruction could be revolutionary. It's like having a tutor who sees the world through your eyes.
It's amazing to think about all the possibilities. But as exciting as this all is, we also need to be mindful of the bigger picture.
Right.
This kind of technology has huge implications for the future of work.
It does. As AI systems become more sophisticated, they're going to take on roles that were previously considered exclusive to humans.
It's a little bit scary, to be honest.
It is. But it's also a tremendous opportunity. We're entering an era where AI isn't just a tool, it's a collaborator.
I like that, a collaborator.
Yeah.
But with that comes a huge responsibility to ensure that AI is developed and used ethically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We need to be thinking about things like bias, transparency, and accountability.
We can't just focus on making AI more powerful. We also need to make sure it's used for good.
Right, for the benefit of all humanity.
And that's why I'm so glad that research like this LLamaV01 paper is being done in the open.
I agree.
It allows the entire AI community to examine these models, identify potential issues, and work together to find solutions.
It's a collaborative effort to make sure that AI benefits everyone.
Exactly. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into LLamaV01.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It really has. And if you're as intrigued by this research as we are, we highly recommend checking out the full paper. You'll find the link in our show notes.
And as always, we want to hear from you.
Yes. Share your thoughts on LLamaV01. Tell us your own novel notions, or just let us know what you'd like us to cover in future episodes.
You can find us on all the usual social media platforms.
So until next time, keep those tensors talking.